Don Franklin Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off on Fox 56 is brought to you by the Don Franklin Auto Group, Mr. Rooter Plumbing of Central Kentucky, Community Trust Bank, and Fayette Heating and Air. And welcome to the Don Franklin Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off here on Fox 56. I'm Dan Rieffer, joined by Kyle Tucker, who recently joined The Athletic. Congratulations. You'll continue to cover the Cats there as you have for what, the last 6 or 7 years here in Lexington?
7 years, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, tomorrow is Kentucky's Media Day. You'll be there. But we got a chance to sit down with every single one of Kentucky's players, as well as Coach John Calipari recently. And over the next half hour, we're going to hear from them on a variety of topics. And then we're going to get your reaction to those, Kyle. It's all coming your way next. We begin our preview of the Kentucky basketball team here on the Don Franklin Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off with an indicator that this team is going to have success this season. A willingness to put in the extra time. John Calipari, he always has talent, Kyle. We know this. But this year he also has a group that loves the gym.
If I come in here at 11 o'clock and the ball's bouncing, or 12 o'clock, my guess is it's Tyler.
You know, I work out before class, after class, and then at night.
So he's doing what Shea Alexander did a year ago. He is just motoring. The good news is, a lot of times Shea was in here by himself. He is not. Like, there'll be other guys that'll drift on in if he's in here.
Everybody's always in here.
The whole team is gym
Everybody. Everybody. Even the managers in here just watching, everybody.
And it wasn't like that last year, right?
It was, but not like that. Not like how it is now, no.
When I talk to Coach Cal, at the end of the day, when there's so many people in the gym, that's just his best teams. That's how it's always been.
Now, in the past, you've heard Calipari talking about getting someone to do what John Wall did or Michael Kidd-Gilchrist with the Breakfast Club, and that is putting in the extra work on your own, bringing others with you. Now, we haven't even reached Big Blue Madness, and it's already happening. That's got to be a good sign.
Yeah, and I've actually got a piece on The Athletic running. I think by the time people see this, it will already be up. In talking to the players myself in the preseason, I wanted to ask them all, what is the biggest mistake someone made in recruiting you? And what is the thing that John Calipari said that sealed the deal? And that was pretty revealing, because almost all of them said some version of the biggest mistake was a school saying to me, you know, you're a five-star, you'll be the man, you can have the ball, you know, everybody will play around you, I'm going to hand you something.
Yeah.
And a lot of them said, I didn't want that. And what Calipari said to sell them, they said, was, you're going to get nothing, you're going to work for it. And I wanted that. And I mean, almost all of them said that. And so it's clear to me that Calipari, it's not by accident. He's recruited to this. And he called it the Brandon Knight culture, the way he worked as a five-star guy, working all that extra, sort of reset what he was looking for in players. And he's gone out and basically, he's got the pick of the litter. So he says to these five-stars, either you want to work or you don't come here. And it seems like he's got a full roster of guys that embrace it. It's really, I think it's really impressive.
And by design. Well, Kentucky's trip to the Bahamas was beneficial in that way, most obvious being the opportunity for team bonding. That's exactly what happened for these Wildcats in Paradise.
We're all making fun of each other all the time. But I think that's what makes us close, is that we can pick on each other and stuff like that, and everybody's cool.
So it's not really cliques?
Nah. Tyler and Keldon are really, really close. I think that's pretty much the one click, I'll say.
This team is like real close, so we can tell when somebody's down. We try to pick them up.
The Bahamas trip set it off right, I think. Everybody bonding, really. Last year really wasn't. Everybody was bonded, but not how I think this year is. This year, I think everybody is hooked on one rope.
At the end of the year, that's gonna, you know, we're gonna look back on that trip and say that really brought us together as one.
Oh, they all say that. I mean, this isn't the first Kentucky team to say they're close. You hear it almost every year. But this feels different, more than just lip service.
Yeah, and not every team goes to the Bahamas. You only get to do that once every 4 years. And the last time they got to do it what happened. I mean, 38-1, and there is something different. And it's one of the reasons Calipari is a proponent of let us do this every year. Let teams do this every year, because it would especially benefit young teams like his. It's different. He's had teams where the whole roster wasn't even on campus until August, maybe late August.
Yeah.
And now he's had this group. They all got here early. Even Ashton Hagans, who had to reclassify, was here very early in the summer. Had the whole summer together. You get those 10 practices together before you even leave to go to the Bahamas, and then you play 4 competitive games, and you go on water slides, and you're in hotel rooms and playing video games. That's the stuff you do at the NCAA tournament, where you really see teams really come together. To do all that before you've even started preseason practice, to me, I don't see how you could not bond more than the years that you don't have that. When you're a freshman-heavy team like Kentucky is every year, this is just such a huge advantage for them. As I said, I watched what they did 4 years ago in the Bahamas. I watched them in the after hours, and it was clear that that group was coming together.
Well, coming up, another benefit from the Bahamas and what it means for this team to have 3 returnees plus a graduate transfer. When the Don Franklin Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off on Fox 56 continues. Back to the Don Franklin Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off here on Fox 56. Well, the comparisons have already been made about this Kentucky team and the last one that went to the Bahamas. Of course, we already talked about it already. That team went 38-1. That team had several returnees like this team. That combination of a preseason foreign trip along with the return of Quade Green, Nick Richards, and P.J. Washington has led to a comfort level that Calipari hasn't had since that 2014-15 season.
There's an anxiety if you've not played for Kentucky or me. It's natural that these freshmen have. Those 3 don't have. So it's not so much what the NBA and all this. There's a comfort level of what to expect every day and how I coach, how I notice everything. Like there's nothing that's going on in here that I'm not noticing. What the challenge of staying up with the practice, beat the practice. They know that now. They didn't know it a year ago. So they have a comfort level. And I'm going to be honest with you, the trip to the Bahamas made us all a little more comfortable in what this was about, because we had practice time. We had games. Now, I didn't coach the games, but it didn't matter. I coached every practice. They were playing the way I wanted them to play. They now know, okay, there's a comfort level. We can work, and there is no anxiety. Now, that doesn't mean we think we're there, but it just, I know what to expect. So let's get after this.
Yeah, I really don't think it can be overstated what a benefit it is for Calipari to not only have that foreign trip, but 3 guys coming back, 3 key guys.
And then a grown man in Reed Travis,
Right.
who's lived life and been through college and played in big games. I mean, you saw it. I think the easiest example, obviously, it's the biggest impact is having PJ back, because he's going to be maybe the biggest impact player of those returnees. But it's most obvious in Nick Richards. I mean, a guy who at times last year lost his confidence to such a degree and his comfort level to such a degree that it stopped looking like he could catch a basketball or dunk a basketball. It overwhelmed him, and he's talked about that. And he was in his head, and he worried all the time, and he didn't want to make mistakes. And then what did he look like in the Bahamas? A totally different guy. And I think, you can't overstate it. At one point, I went back and looked, and I don't remember the exact stats now, but Calipari's handful of times has had at least 30% of his points and rebounding back, which is not a high threshold, but just some experience, and every one of those teams has been in the Final Four. So it matters. It makes a big difference to just, as he said, in practice, have guys show up that for the first month you're not just teaching guys what your practice drills are. That's a little thing that is a big thing.
Yeah. Well, there's another type of comfort level that comes with experience for a player, different from what to expect from the coaches. It's what to expect from yourself. And for graduate transfer Reed Travis, who had a rough start to the Bahamas trip, he was comfortable enough with his own game to know his struggles wouldn't last.
I think the beauty of me of being in college basketball so long and kind of going through the ups and downs is that I understand how to stay out of my head and just understand how basketball is and to just be comfortable with myself. I understood that when I was having struggles that I was going to have a good game and it was going to be coming up soon, and I just understood that not to get down on myself, to trust the work that I put in, that it's just all about getting comfortable. I have a lot of time to get better as a player. So I think the thing that I'd be most impressed with is that I didn't revert to some of the things that I did when I was maybe a freshman or sophomore, is getting down on myself or the world's over or things like that.
Yeah, we've heard Calipari talk about this very thing before, being mature enough not to panic, trust the work that you've put in, which is harder for freshmen. Hamidou Diallo comes to mind, also Nick Richards, who you just brought up from last season.
Yeah, it's so obvious when a guy, you're trying to teach him, and he's trying to learn, but then he also, when it all becomes overwhelming, the tendency is just to go back and do what your muscle memory is.
Right.
And Reed Travis, talk about him. He's a guy, he's wonderful to talk to because he isn't an adult. He's lived life. He's, a grown man, where so many of these guys are really teenagers.
With a degree from Stanford, by the way.
With a degree from Stanford. He thinks in a different way. To that point, I talked earlier about, asking each of those guys, what did Calipari say to sell you? And he said, he could have looked at a stat sheet and said, do what you did at Stanford those 2 years. You're all Pac-12. Just do the same thing here and you'll be great. And he didn't. He had a tape of all the things wrong with his game when he came to be recruited on his recruiting visit. And John Calipari said, let me help you fix this. And he really respected that. And that mentality is really big for them.
I don't think there's any doubt. All right, coming up, we're going to hear from Coach Cal and the players on the makeup of this team, from the weapons it has to the mentality. When the Don Franklin Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off on Fox 56 returns. Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off here on Fox 56. Last season, I can remember hearing more than once from a national college basketball analyst that UK's pieces just didn't seem to fit. The feeling heading into this season is that the opposite is true, that the Cats have just about everything they need to make a run at the national championship.
We got bigs, we got the guards, we got shooters.
That's why I think this team is special. I mean, we have a lot of guys that do different things, and they can all contribute into one bigger thing.
They really compete. They're talented. They challenge, they fight every day, and then they're good friends after. I couldn't ask for anything more. Now, to be special, and I've had special teams here, you need veteran leadership. Wow, we do. Number two, you need separators or catalysts. Who are they? Anthony Davis, John Wall, Carl Thomas. We've had separators. Brandon Knight. Who are the separators on this team? Don't know yet.
Yeah, based on what we saw in the Bahamas, it doesn't seem like finding a catalyst or a separator, as Cal calls them. I just don't think it's going to be a problem. You've got so many options.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point there is like the one thing that his best teams have had is that one guy that was clearly the guy, the #1 pick caliber guy in that conversation. And I don't know that they have that, but I do think they have guys that can be a catalyst. I think P.J. Washington can be that sort of demonstrative guy that in a given game really jolts you. I'm really big on Ashton Higgins, and maybe not offensively, but I think he's going to be so good defensively and so disruptive defensively. We saw in the Bahamas, and this whole team, that's a part of their identity. The pieces fitting, they all want to defend. Yeah. They're really good. Ashton Higgins is a lockdown guy. He had people going away from him, not wanting the ball because of the way he was pestering them. And Calipari talked about that too. He thinks it's at least possible that Ashton Higgins defensively on the perimeter could maybe be that catalyst. He's going to start a lot of fast breaks, I think.
Well, it was no doubt we saw in the Bahamas that he bothered people so much, and it led to offense and fast breaks, and it got things going. Now, we know Calipari is going to try to temper expectations for this team, as he does every year to the fans and media, but he knows he has a really good team this year, and his son Brad knows that Dad knows.
Last year he was a lot more animated than he would have liked to be, but I feel like this year he knows he can relax a little bit. He sees how good of a team we can be.
I think we all know that we just want to win. I don't think nobody's really individualized on the team. I feel like we all on the same page as just wanting to win. And I think winning comes with sharing. And I think if we win, I think everybody will shine.
You can see it in the Bahamas. Unselfish, passionate, wanted to play defense, wanted to just win. Yeah, so that's how all of us are, and I love it.
Every year, that's we're expected to win a national title. That's just what it is at Kentucky, and it might be pressure for some people, but I think with the group that we have here, I think we're ready to tackle it on.
We got big things to do this year, like because this team really can do something special.
Yeah, everything we know about this team to this point, from how close they are, how much extra time they spend in the gym, the veteran leadership, the talent, to what you just heard about, that passion and competitiveness. How could you not think that they have a special season in store?
Yeah, and he may try to temper it, but Brad's right. I mean, everybody around him recognizes that he's walking around. I mean, follow him on Twitter, listen to him talk, look at the grin. You know, he can't wipe this grin off his face. He knows, because he knows what it takes to be a title contender, and he knows what the ingredients are. He knows, he's outlined it. He knows it takes veteran leadership. He knows it takes defensive effort. He knows it takes a bunch of gym rats, and he knows that he has all that, and he's excited. He cannot hide it. I talked to Johnny David, senior walk-on. He's been around here for 3 previous teams. The last 3 years have been grinds for him. Yeah. He said he's never seen John Calipari this excited about a group. Just the way he talks about them is different.
I don't know. I guess the Duke game coming up will give you an early litmus test, right?
Yes.
Right off the bat. And then the one thing, this year, what they're going to change the NCAA tournament, kind of where the wins are, how much they count, and one in November counts the same as one in February. That'll be interesting. But coming up, we're going to hear from Coach Cal on that season opener against Duke when the Don Franklin Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off continues on Fox 56. Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off here on Fox 56. We are less than a month away from Kentucky's season opener. What a season opener it is against Duke in Indianapolis on Tuesday, November 6th. What a great way to tip off the season. Well, maybe for fans, John Calipari's not so sure.
I don't like that we're opening with a game that strong, and not that it's Duke. It could be 10 teams. You don't like to open a season without at least a game under your belt. So it's going to be hard, but good news, it's going to be hard for them too. I mean, it's going to be a hard game for both of us to play and coach and really make adjustments and do stuff, because they're brand new teams. His team is brand new, my team is brand new. So I don't like it, but I know everybody in the world's looking forward to it.
I'm not worried about them at all. I mean, we're just coming out and just trying to be better every day. I feel like if we go out and play like we did in Bahamas, we'll win easily. So, I mean, that's just the biggest thing with us, is just coming out and just have the right mindset to play well.
Okay, PJ. You heard him bring up how well they played in the Bahamas. UK assistant Joel Justice revealed down there that the coaching staff had been telling this team how good Mega B-Max was for 2 weeks leading up to the game.
I mean, all the coaches were talking about it, saying that
on a good day, they could beat y'all by 20, and we're all looking at each other like, yo, we're not losing by 20.
So, I mean, really took it to heart and tried to go out and just beat them by 30 points.
So I think that, like, we came out there with that extra oomph. Like, we were coming out there like, we're about to prove a point. We're about to put everybody that's watching on notice. Like, we're about to really show them what we can do.
Once we did that, we kind of felt some type of way about ourselves.
Yeah, you think this coaching staff won't go back to that Mega B-Max well for motivation against Duke?
Yeah, I mean, I think that told us something about this group. Yeah. That if you poke them, if you convince them that somebody might be able to get them, and I think I've heard from people that were down there that maybe that the B-Max guys were also kind of chirping that, or at least that maybe that's what the coaches were telling the players, that they were chirping. But there was a sense that these guys are pros. They've produced X number of draft picks. Can you match them? And to see the way they wanted to just destroy that team, right, says something about what we've talked about, sort of the mentality that they have. And to that point, a lot of these guys do want a piece of Duke. Cal may not want to talk about it. He may not want to open with them. But E.J. Montgomery is a guy that almost went to Duke. Yeah. He was very close. He went to the McDonald's All-America game, and he and his family told me something happened up there. The Duke guys were there. The touted Duke guys, the 1, 2, 3 recruits.
Zion Williamson.
And the Kentucky guys were there, Keldon and Emmanuel Quickley. And something happened that he didn't like with the Duke guys, and there's something happened that he really did like about the mentality of the Kentucky guys, and he went with the Kentucky guys, and he said, we want to play Duke. All those guys do. I think there's a real sense that, maybe in the back of their mind, or what the coaches are going to use with the freshmen in particular is, everybody says Duke has the best group of freshmen. Right. That you're the lesser of the two groups of freshmen, and if they respond to that kind of thing, which they have now made it pretty clear they will, I think there's a possibility that we see a really, really, not a possibility, almost a certainty, a really, really amped up group of guys. Keldon Johnson is going to be one of those guys. They might have to hold him back. Keldon and PJ, they might have to pull those guys back a little bit.
All right, thank you. Well, it's here. Big Blue Madness is Friday. UK plays every week thereafter into March and maybe into April. Thanks to Kyle Tucker. Go subscribe to The Athletic so you can follow his coverage of the Cats all season long. We hope you enjoyed the Don Franklin Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off here on Fox 56. Thanks for watching.
The Don Franklin Auto Group Big Blue Tip-Off on Fox 56 has been brought to you by the Don Franklin Auto Group, Mr. Reuter Plumbing of Central Kentucky, Community Trust Bank, and Fayette Heating and Air.